Hello, everyone tuning in. My name is Jill Berkowitz. I'm the host of the 160 Characters podcast. And today, joining me is Eugina Jordan. I have been so excited to talk to you today. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jill, for having me.
It's so nice to meet you. Also, I tried to go back and remember exactly where I found you and how I found you on LinkedIn. I really think it was when I was just doing research. And then I came across your profile and I started reading through it and your about section and your experience. And I was just so thoroughly impressed of all the things that you've been doing over the years. What originally caught my attention was how many years you spent in telecom. And you've likely been able to see a lot of changes over time, even if you were focused on the marketing end of it. And then that's the other piece, your expertise in all things marketing and the variety that you've done over the years. So, if you were to combine those two things as an example, maybe your background in telecom, your expertise in marketing, what do you think is the current modern day relationship between those two things? I guess you can also look at it from the perspective, have you noticed how maybe some marketing strategies have been consistently applied within telecom, or the opposite, how things have changed in telecom and so therefore you've had to maybe change marketing strategies, or maybe none of the above?
Such a great question. So when I describe myself as a technologist in telecommunications, as a marketer, B2B to H, which stands for business to human, and also a leader. I'm a C-level executive in telecom. And a piece of data for your listeners, telecom is worse than oil and gas. We only have 12% of women in our C-suite.
It's so interesting to know. I'm not surprised, to be honest. And the first thing I wanted to mention to you is that when you were saying, this is how I describe myself, one of the first things you said was technologist. And that's so cool.
Yeah. So, and that's why I love technology. I have 12 patents in OpenRAN 5G. I've written over 100 articles on AI. So going back to your original question, I think the way telecom marketing evolved is we always talking to humans, and humans want to either be educated to learn about something before they make decisions for a trial, or they make a decision to go and meet with the supplier. So, and that's why understanding that every single human wants to learn made me and all the strategies, my marketing strategies, very, very successful. So learning can be done via different mediums. It's a then article. So marketers, they should be creating those pieces of content in industry publications, or they should be writing their blogs on their website. So that's one medium, articles. There are webinars, there are audios, there are podcasts, there are any type of digital activities where you can either describe what you're doing or showcase what you're doing. And obviously, there are channels like events where physically you connect with the human, you showcase them a demo, and you answer their questions. What also is not being very used in telecom, and I started using it with my previous company, which was a startup, and we had zero marketing dollars. I started using social media.
Mm-hmm.
And marketers don't realize that, especially in telecom, because this is an old school industry. Marketers in telecom that realize the power of social media, they become very successful, and they build those very deep connections with their customers or prospects. I hope it answers your question.
It almost seems like there's a marriage between the old school and the new school in a way, because an example is that you said telecom's obviously been around forever. It's evolved over time. And sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It could be back to basics, such as an article or a blog post, but there's also this opportunity out there to go more new school when it comes to social media, being that so many people are out there on their phones scrolling all the time.
100%. So back in 2021, when I was writing industry articles on Open RAN, it's the new market category that I was instrumental in creating. Um, I started actually doing posts with a custom hashtag, and it took off. And the discussions we had, those discussions actually helped many companies develop their own open RAN solutions. Um, and social media became that platform where those ideas were activated. And I'm doing similar right now with my post. I do things you didn't know about telecom on Fridays. And on Mondays, I talk about AI in telecom. And I see again different companies from mobile operators to suppliers, software and hardware engaging in those conversations. And then they take it back to their companies to start developing those innovations.
I love that. And you use hashtags in your posts when you do those?
So I use AI and innovation because creating your custom hashtag, which I learned in 2021, is a lot of work.
Yes.
Um, and I just tried something and it worked really well. So now I'm aligning with the hashtags that are out there on LinkedIn for AI and innovation. And I also tag some key people. There was one post on things you didn't know about telecom. I it was sort of fun. It was one of the first posts, and I asked people in telecom to tell us how many years they've been in telecom without naming a year. And people were naming, 2G or 3G, and people from Nokia and Ericsson and Telefonica and AT&T and Verizon, because it was fun.
I want to go back and find that post now. I love that. How fun.
It was a lot of fun. And people connected also through that post because they were like, oh my God, I didn't realize you did the same deployment as me. So, and that's why I see social as an amazing platform for telecom to connect and innovate.
I agree. I agree. Do you think that you could share, since you have been in telecom for so long, do you think you could share some highlights that you've seen along the way? Maybe like a key moment or a key change, almost similar to you just mentioned that post and how long, tell us how long you've been in telecom without actually telling us a year. So, is there a moment in telecom that you kind of vividly remember?
So, probably two moments. The first one is obviously the iPhone in 2007. So, where networks had to be redesigned. And this was the driver for virtualization. It was the driver for cloud nativeness. It was the driver to make networks more flexible and agile and bring the IT principles into mobile networks. That's number one. And number two is 4G. Did you know that Uber idea was born when 4G was not even around? And 3G technology, because it's not as latency sensitive as 4G, couldn't handle it because by the time you call your Uber on 3G, the car would be elsewhere. It just took too long. So Uber had to wait for wireless technology, 4G, to be implemented, to be able to launch their concept. And the reason I'm saying that 4G was that moment for me and for telecom industry, because right now the same thing happening with AI. And AI to me is very similar to another concept that that changed industry. It's refrigeration. So, but let's look what companies benefited the most from refrigeration. It wasn't the companies that developed fridges. It was actually Pepsi. Same with AI. Mobile operators inventing AI technologies, they implementing openness so the data can be actually be open for the algorithms, they automating their networks. So who's gonna benefit the most from AI being implemented in telecom? Future will tell.
This is so fascinating. And I learned something new. I had actually asked somebody else recently about some moments of their life technologically that stand out to them. And I shared some of mine. And the iPhone was one of mine for sure. But I think the iPhone is a very obvious answer because of all of the capabilities that it has. When you mentioned 4G, it sort of opened my mind a little differently because we forget we see the iPhone, we see people walking around with it. It's in front of us all the time, but we forget how much 4G has done for everybody. I know we're past that at this point, but at the time, you have your phone in your hand, you're not holding 4G. So it's not as obvious an answer. So I love that. I'm going to keep that in mind if anybody asks me something similar. That's so great.
Awesome.
I couldn't help but notice. I want to rewind a little bit to your time at Cisco, if that's okay. I couldn't help but notice that you designed, owned, and executed Cisco's 2012 global rebrand, which was "Tomorrow starts here." That's such a powerful phrase, heartwarming too. At this point, we're obviously well beyond tomorrow because that was at least 10 years ago, probably longer at this point. But could you talk a little bit about what inspired you to use a tagline like that? Because it's so memorable.
It takes a village to relaunch a brand. And I had a privilege when I was the lead marketing communications lead on that launch. I had a privilege to work with 50 brilliant marketers, from marketing communications to analysts to PR to global marketers in different regions. And 12 years ago, back then, we all worked from home. So Cisco back then believed in working from home. So we all brought our best ideas to the table. And the base for this launch was how can we help our customers build better tomorrow? So that was the concept. And then marketing team executed well. We created collateral for sales, and it was all based on customer needs. And that's why that launch was so impactful, because it was not just a tagline pulled out from thin air. It was tagline that resonated 12 years ago with our customers.
I was about to say, I almost was going to repeat what you just said. Once that tagline went out there into the world, it probably really resonated with so many people. I mean, it resonated with me now, and we're 10, 11 years later.
Such a fabulous tagline, such a fabulous tagline,
I
and
couldn't
such
help
a
but
great
notice it.
company.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah,
mention.
great. Yeah, and great people. We still, stay friends. Telecom, as you know, it's such a small industry.
Mhm.
So once you fall into telecom, it's like you become part of the mafia.
So we talked very, very briefly about LinkedIn, and obviously that's how I came across you. And I read some of your posts, and about 6 months ago, you wrote a social media post. Anybody who's listening in can certainly go find Eugina's LinkedIn and take a look at her posts. They're so fabulous and so uplifting. But you had wrote a post that at the time was addressing the wide range of layoffs that were happening. And you said something like, it forced me to reevaluate my path, embrace change, and discover the immense potential within myself. You then celebrated 4 things that happened in the year following, which included becoming the chief marketing officer for the Telecom Infra project, publishing a book, and winning the Diversity for Tech GLOMO Award. And for those tuning in, if you're not sure what that means, and I hope I pronounced it right, it stands for Global Mobile Awards. Did I get that correct? I hope. There's so much to unpack there. I thought it was such a fabulous post, and I think it brought a lot of hope to a lot of people. What stands out to you the most about that whole year?
So that was 2022. And what stands most is people don't realize that we're stronger and we are more resilient than we think we are. And it's never a layoff, it's never a rejection, it's a redirection. And realizing that it's just a tiny blip on your professional life, and it's not good. It's not defining who you were before the layoff, and it's definitely not going to define who you're going to be after that layoff. And realizing that was very, very, very powerful. And the other, so that's number one. And number two is I realized that my network is a whole bunch of absolutely fabulous humans.
What a lovely memory. And I love how you took a moment and you turned it into a redirection and helped so many other people see it from that perspective too. Because I know it was a difficult time in general, especially in the technology industries. Since we started to mention the Telecom Infra project and it's one of your current responsibilities, I'd love to learn a bit more about it. I did a little research. The website says it's a new approach to building and deploying telecom network infrastructure, but what exactly does that mean?
Another great question. So, Telecom Infra Project, or TIP, we're a community, we're a nonprofit, and we're a community of like-minded companies, organizations, from service providers, mobile operators, ISPs, to vendors, software, hardware, system integrators, and academia, and so on. And what we do is we have different project groups for radio part of the network, transport, for innovation areas. And we work as a community to identify the requirements, what is needed to build the future networks. Then we come up with a joint roadmap from all the vendors based on those requirements. And then we test, certify them, and mobile operators with that stamp of approval from TIP, they know they can deploy them. And we have some amazing successes from Telefonica and MTN on the transport side. We have successes in open Wi-Fi. We have over 70,000 access points deployed out there. So the new approach is to make networks more open, more agile, so coverage can be brought to every single person across the world and businesses as well.
I actually spent some time in the last episode that I recorded talking about this idea of connecting the unconnected. It's not my idea, but we were interviewing Kelly Coleman from Zenesis, and the conversation was about how there are so many parts of the world that don't have connectivity and need access. And so that's pretty cool.
And it's not just connecting the unconnected, it's connecting businesses as well. Businesses, they need connectivity, they need secure connectivity. Cities need connectivity. In big cities or stadiums, sometimes you lose your access and your phone keeps spinning because there's too many people. So it's
Mhm.
all of it. It's rural areas, urban areas, enterprises. So we take our phone and we can have access anywhere from personal to professional to all other aspects of our life, anywhere in the world.
So cool. You guys are doing so many great things for so many people and companies. Speaking of which, I noticed a really impressive board of directors. You have people on the team from many leading companies in the telecom industry. I noticed Intel, Dell Technologies, Vodafone. I'm just mentioning a few. I know there were many others. Given the dynamic nature of the telecom industry, how does TIP leverage the collective knowledge of everybody that's part of it and anticipate maybe future trends in telecom? So everybody comes to the table with different knowledge and different experience. How do you use all of that knowledge to move forward and to follow the trends and to know what's coming?
So that's step one of our process. It's collecting the requirements, collecting the requirements from mobile operators and ISPs and cable operators because they see the needs from their customers, individuals, end users, and businesses. So that's step one. And then once our operator members provided their requirements, then our hardware, software, and system integrator members, they look at those requirements and jointly create a roadmap. So that's how it's sort of, we're a matchmaker. So like match.com, I met my husband on match.com. So 2011, right? So that's why to me, there is a demand from mobile operator side, cost-effective, innovative, open and disaggregated. And there are suppliers that can meet that demand and we match.
It almost seems like a process. I was just writing down a few key phrases that I thought of, but it sounds like you start with research, then you assess all the research, and then you use that knowledge to create.
Create, and then once it's created, it gets tested and certified. The challenge in telecom industry is every variation, every mobile operator has to test it. So, and vendors, they have to go in lab 1, lab 2, lab 3. So there's a lot of wasted time and effort. So what TIP does, we test and certify. So mobile operator 1, 2, 3, they know it's been tested and validated. So they don't need to waste time, resources to test and certify and validate.
I was just about to say that the testing phase of this probably takes a while, I would assume, maybe depending on the project.
Absolutely. So last year, I believe in Open RAN, we launched 3 blueprints. One of them was small cell, one of them was urban macro. So yeah, it took a whole year for 3 blueprints. But now mobile operators can take that blueprint and deploy it.
You save time for them.
Time and money,
Mhm.
internal resources, external resources. And now it allows them to bring faster innovation and faster time to market.
I would love to talk about, I believe a few months ago, maybe October, you were in Madrid for the Fyuz event, which focuses on the future of connectivity. I'm curious if there were any themes or trends that seemed to be hot topics while you were there.
Absolutely. So, in this year, Fyuz in 2024 is going to be in November in,
Ireland!
yes, in Dublin.
That's so cool.
It is. I'm actually going in a couple of weeks. I'm doing a site visit there, so I'm excited.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, yeah. So themes in Madrid at Fuse 2023 were around how TIP helps accelerate deployments. First day, there were case studies of solutions being deployed. Then the second day, what we talked about is how procure those solutions. Remember I said we're matchmaker? And what we heard from our supplier members is that it's very hard for them to get procured. So we brought different resources from mobile operators to explain how those open and disaggregated solutions can get procured. And then the last day was all about innovation, chipsets, AI, automation, Gen AI, and so on. Great discussions, a lot of work for our community. And we all left Fyuz energized to do more as a collaborative community.
Was there a big difference in the innovative topics that were discussed this year or I guess last year at this point in comparison to the previous year?
Absolutely. And it's all aligns with how fast the technology is moving. In 2022, we didn't have advancements in chipsets because now there are advancements in chipsets. We can actually implement those AI technologies and those models because they require certain capacity. Also in 2022, ChatGPT and all those Gen AI tools were just launched. Now they're being implemented into different tools. Microsoft is implementing them to make Teams, not Teams, they're Microsoft Teams, but Teams as a group of people working together more efficient. So, and then the third one is the industry been talking about RIC, Radio Intelligent Controller software by Oran Alliance for a long time. And now it's being implemented. So recently, Verizon announced that they're using AI to optimize and automate their networks. So a year makes a huge difference from just, coming up with ideas to implementing those ideas. And the fun fact is, I can't wait to see what 2024 Fyuz will be talking about because there will be so much more deployments in AI and advancements in chipsets. NVIDIA just announced a new chip GPU. So 9 months, there will be so many more ideas and deployment. I bet.
Yes, these tech advancements are not going anywhere. They're going to keep going. So I'm curious too. You've earned recognition as a telecom industry and female leadership speaker. Can you share the importance of amplifying diverse voices in the tech and telecom industries and maybe reflect a little bit about how you've gotten to this point and how you've achieved this significant milestone in your career as a speaker?
So I'm going to take the pause here because it's a very passionate subject for me for two reasons. number one is I'm an introvert.
I am
So
too.
yeah, so and I sense that. So, but we're putting ourselves out there to make a difference because there is young Jill out there, there's young Eugina out there, and if they don't see people like themselves, they don't believe they can be them. So if you see them, you can be them. And that's why I constantly put myself out there to make sure we bring fresh talent minds into telecom. And then the second one is I also believe in lifting as I'm rising. So 2 years ago, I started this movement, No More Nanos in telecom. And now industry events, they have quotas because, again, to inspire younger generation, they need to see people like them on stages doing interesting work, talking about interesting work, and talking about their accomplishments. And that's why I do it for two reasons: is to inspire younger generation and amplify voices of other women so they can say, you know what, she can do it, she does it, I can do it as well.
You're instilling confidence in others.
If I can do it, if I can be posting on LinkedIn every single day, if I can get on stage at Mobile World Congress or do a podcast like that, so is every single other woman capable of doing the same. Ladies, you are smarter than you think you are. You have knowledge. And ladies, you deserve that stage.
So heartwarming. Now, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, maybe find you on LinkedIn, reach out, let you know that they felt supported and heard and are also fascinated, just like me, of all the amazing things that you have done over the years in telecom and tech, how can they get hold of you?
LinkedIn, Eugina Jordan. Twitter, Eugina Jordan. Instagram, Eugina Jordan. Facebook, Eugina Jordan. And I also
Amazing.
and I also have a website. So and people can find me on any platform that they are on. My main gem is LinkedIn. My second main gem is Instagram, and I do different things on Instagram. I do a little more videos. It's a little bit more fun. So connect with me on all the platforms.
I feel inspired. I'm going to check out your Insta later.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of fun. I just started doing it maybe 4 months ago. I'm still learning. So my reels might be a little bit like maybe like a sixth grade I did them. I'm trying because I know in a year I'm going to be fabulous.
You're also modeling to other people that in order to get better or improve, you have to start somewhere. So if you keep waiting to write that post, apply for that job, film that video, it's just going to take 10 times longer. So you may as well do it now.
Just do it like Nike says it, right? Just do it.
Thank you so much. It's so lovely to meet you. Can't wait to catch up on social.
Thank you, Jill, for having me.